Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above for the weekend. It is a 3-day weekend if you're here in the US. I'm not sure if other countries do the same thing, but we have Labor Day this weekend. So it's 3 days of rest, relax, and restoration. The name of the show this morning. And there's a really good reason why I named the show that this morning, because that is the human design week that we are in. And trust me when I say you're going to need this, because September, as it arrives, and for the several weeks that we are in the month of September, we have some crazy crazies going on, planets changing signs, a lunar eclipse with a whole host of activity in it, and a solar eclipse in September with a whole host of different aspects in it. And yeah, you're going to need this weekend. So rest up. And today we're going to talk about the end of the month. There are literally no aspects happening this weekend, right? So it's even more important that we take that as a takeaway message for taking our time to relax and to rejuvenate ourselves, right? And then we're going to talk about that a little deeper, the Human Design Week, with the gate 40 in the sun and the gate 37 in the earth. It is one of the few times in human design throughout the year where a channel is formed by the sun and the earth. So in this case, this is the channel of administration. Such a boring name. I think it's more of about the channel of agreements and family and tribe and community. And we'll talk about those energies. And then as well, I noticed this morning when I drew up the chart for the day that the moon was in a conjunction, or is in a conjunction right now, with the black moon Lilith. And these two are kind of like sisters. So I want to break down what the moon in Scorpio is all about, because that's where this is happening. And then what the transition from the moon in Scorpio to the moon in Sagittarius means for us for the weekend. And in that, of course, we'll talk about the moon and the black moon Lilith a little more. And then as we close out the month of August, if you remember back in the very beginning of August, our theme was about sacred momentum and anchoring in. Now, what is that for us? What does that mean for us? So we'll do this closing of August, looking at what that momentum was all about. And then at the end today, we'll talk about Saturn's return to Pisces. Now, that actually happens on Monday, but Monday is going to be a full day of a full hour of me talking about the whole of the week of the first week of September. And there's so much going on that first week that I really need to be able to talk deeper today about Saturn's return to Pisces and how that closes a chapter for us that began or begins to close a chapter for us that began in March of 2023 when Saturn first moved into the sign of Pisces. And one of the biggest lessons learning from Saturn during this period of time is about spiritual bypassing. And literally, I wanted to look this up today because I hear it all the time, right? We hear buzzwords all the time, and buzzwords, buzz phrases, like I had to go looking up, what does it mean to be woke? Because woke to me meant nothing. It meant like, oh, are we being, we're evolved now? we're waking up. But apparently it's much, has some kind of negative connotation. And yeah, that I had to look it up and see what that was all about. So today I looked up spiritual bypassing, because in passing, I kind of knew what that meant. But I want to take a deeper look at that. And I am going to unblur my background because it's driving me crazy. Somehow on StreamYard, blurring your background is tantamount to blurring everything. Um, and then let's dive into some of the interesting things that we could take away from the month of August. So, good morning, everybody who's out there. I saw Julie first off this morning. Good to have you with us. And Kamal, good morning to you. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, hello. Happy Friday to you as well. Tom, peace, Astro family. Debbie, thanks always for that reminder of hitting the like button, sharing with your friends, hit the thumbs up button if you are on YouTube. And Joan Durchie, good morning to you. Happy Labor Day weekend to you as well. Narges, good morning to you. Christine, good morning. And everybody else out there in the background who's not chit-chatting with us, good morning to you. And thank you for being here. So this morning, let's dive right in to the Human Design Week. So I'm going to actually share my screen so that you can see the body graph chart of the week ahead. And, this is an important channel that is created in Human Design. I'm going to go back to StreamYard for a second, make sure y'all are seeing this. All right, good. So when we are in the gate 40, this is on the heart center or the will center. And remember the will center is a center of our managing resources, right? And resources aren't just money. It's time, it's energy, it's your health, it's your money, certainly your resources that you have, to pay for things. But in this case, we're referring to the idea of minding your energy. And that is the gate 40, called the gate of restoration. It really takes us into this need for the sacred pause, if you will, before we, go on to the next action. Because the energy of this center, this will center right here, is all, or heart center. We have alternating names. Sometimes you'll hear it called the ego center, the will center, the heart center. Essentially, this is an energy here that pulses on and off. And herein lies the problem, because it is a motor in Human Design. So it does have, this energy of motion about it. But the energy here is really about the pulse that moves us forward, the pause that causes us to restore or relax. And then the next part of that then is it turns back on and we move. And I like to um, equate this to how animals play. So when you watch dogs at play, right? We have two big Great Danes here that run around and play, and then they go and rest, right? They lay down or they go get some food. There's Rainy right now, just laying there on the porch because she and Sky were just running around the property here. So this is the natural way that energy flows. It moves and it rests. It moves and it rests. But humans, we short circuit that and we end up in a situation where we push ourselves. We push the river, we force, we keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny, assuming that we'll always be supported, but that leads to burnout. So here we have this time, these 3 days, this 5 days actually, of rest, restoration, restoring, right? Relaxing and being able to recoup and rejuvenate some of the energy because it's been a busy time for you, perhaps. And even if it hasn't been, there's just something about this week that really asks us to come back and come to a place of stillness, almost even, and realign ourselves with peace. The gate at the other end, 37, is called the gate of peace. And it is also a gate that we think of as family, right? How we come together and how we feel so supported, or how we're meant to feel so supported in the arms of our family, our tribes, or our communities, right? It doesn't always have to be family, blood family, but when you come together with people that you love and trust, and that feeling of being totally supported and held in the love and light of the family. Okay, so we have this emotional solar plexus energy that is also involved. Remember, the emotional solar plexus is also a motor, and its motor energy is about the waves of emotion and how they flow. They move from the low to the high, or from the high back down to the low. And in this particular case, this is tribal energy. And tribal energy undulates a little faster than some of the other waves in human design. Some of those human design emotional waves are really high and then precipitous drop. Some of them are high, slow rise, and then a slow drop. And the tribal wave, or the one that will be, being enacted this weekend, is one that kind of moves up and down, sort of like a snake, that we think of. The wave is shorter, but you can go through a lot of different waves in the time period, but maybe not even noticing that you are moving through these waves, which is why it's also more important to tune in to how is your body feeling, right? So let's break these down into individual gates for you at this time. So the gate 40 is the energy of replenishment after effort. So I have been working all week long. Oh, I've been working. I worked last weekend. I worked all last week on this She Rise project. I've had the Energy Almanac project going on, and it all came to a close yesterday with the submission of my masterclass to the She Rises Summit. And now I am going to take this weekend and just relax because I've put in a lot of effort, right? And whatever it is that you've put effort into these last couple of weeks, or even if it's been longer than that, you deserve the break that this particular energy brings to you. When you've given of yourself through labors or service or leadership, this gate reminds you to refill the tank or the cup before pushing forward again, lest you risk burnout. And it's more than just burnout, because burnout here in this center can lead to anxiety. It can lead to heart palpitations, heart problems. The center is called the heart, and literally it rules that part of the body. And in terms of, overall health, right? If you are abusing this center, you're abusing this energy over the long haul, it can lead to autoimmune disease and even the kinds of things that happen that put you in bed for days or weeks at a time. So listen well, take the time to rest, right? Take the time. Know when to say yes to doing something because your energy is truly in that flow, but also know when to say no, because your body and spirit need recovery, right? Need time. So the gene keys, in the gene keys, the gate 40, which is the one that is on the will center, and this is where the sun is. So it's shining this bright light on this energy of restoration. In the shadow, it's exhaustion, right? It's driven by obligation, by trying to prove itself over and over. I'm worthy. I can do this. I'm just as good as you. I might even be better than you. Or misaligned use of willpower, where we're pushing our will outward in perhaps into the wrong way with the wrong people at the wrong time. And in the shadow, then that creates this feeling of not being able to get traction and go anywhere. It leads to exhaustion. When we get to the gift level in the gene keys, we see resolve is the gift here. And resolve is about the inner strength that comes from resting in alignment, acting in alignment, resting in alignment, and then taking action in alignment. And in the Siddhi, the highest expression of the gate 40 is divine will, which is about living as an instrument of grace and no longer needing to push, no longer needing to push, just being able to, go forward with whatever's opening up for you. And if nothing's opening up for you, then rest. So this is the ultimate reminder that true willpower doesn't come from force, but comes from surrender. I know that seems upside down, doesn't it? Like, whoop, upside down. Restoration is what brings your will back into alignment with life itself, right? So it's very, very important. Now, the gate 37, where the earth is sitting, the earth, remember, is the piece that grounds us. It is the part that we need to work through in order to be able to move to the highest expression of the sun, right? So they work together as a team to remind us to harmonize and balance the energies that are available for this week. And the gate 37 belongs to tribal circuitry as well. It's rooted in the emotional solar plexus, which means it seeks harmony. It seeks harmony in family, in community, in tribe. It's the honoring of agreements. This is a channel that holds the marriage contract, that holds other contracts as well, sacred contracts, and the agreements that we make in how it is we are going to organize ourselves in a family, in a community, in a nation, in the world. So, driven by values, sure, but also how is it that we put that out there into the world? And then how do we create peace from that? And how it is, overall the warmth of belonging, right, to family or tribe. And it's the archetype of fairness as well, peaceful contracts. Collaboration also lives in this. Shared meals, for example. It's the emotional glue that holds together the family and that binds people together, right? When we come together, uh, often there's food involved. Food is nourishing. And when grounded in the gate 37 peace, you learn that peace is not passive. It's not created by just giving up. Peace is created through mutual respect and through keeping promises, right? Holding to your word. Integrity is also a part of this. Now, in the gene keys, this gate in its lowest or in its shadow expression is weakness. And weakness here coming from a fear of rejection, perhaps, or overcompensating, trying too hard to be something that you're not, forcing yourself, right, into a situation, or sacrificing yourself to keep the peace, which we all know that doesn't go well either, right? There's a personal cost for that. And in the gift level, what we come to is equality, the true recognition that every voice matters, the true recognition that every role is valuable. No matter what you're doing, no matter what your role is, it's valuable. When we move up to the Siddhi, the highest expression is tenderness, soft, unconditional love. And it's love that restores trust and it restores harmony. And this is where peace arises not through dominance or avoidance of the issues, but through tenderness and genuine care and nurturing of others and self, right? Others and self. So together, these gates form this channel, and it's this sacred contract, if you will, between giving and receiving. And gate 40 offers the willingness to work and to provide, but only when the opportunity for replenishment is also available. The gate 37 anchors the emotional reciprocity of all of this that ensures the efforts are honored from all sides and that those efforts are balanced. And in essence, this is the heartbeat of a healthy relationship exchange. So 4037 really brings us into the heart of how we come together as people, as a family, etc. So when these two gates are active, you're asked a couple of questions. Are you giving from a place of fullness or from depletion? Right? If your cup is not full, then how is it that you can give to others? If you are thirsty, how is it that you can bring drink to others? Right? Are your agreements fair, balanced, and sustainable? Or are they unbalanced, where one is giving too much and the other is receiving too much? And do you trust your community to honor your contributions as much as you honor theirs? Because sometimes this channel will need to be very activated in reestablishing healthy agreements, right? Rewriting, renegotiating, bringing new energy into those agreements. So take a look at your agreements. And there's something funny sometimes that happens in this channel where we just assume certain things, right? It's almost a channel where in the negative we can take for granted what an agreement is. And then rather than really standing in our own power within the agreement, we sort of just give away the power to the other side, to the other person, or to the other people in a group. So this is about healthy relationships. So it means everybody standing in their power, doing their part and balancing the equation on both sides and making sure there's plenty of rest and replenishment after effort put into something that you have been doing. Now, in your own human design, you may not have the gate 40 or the 37 defined. So take a look at your human design chart. If you have nothing there now, not only do you have something there, but you have this entire channel that links the will center, which about 78 to 80% of you do not have defined. And it links it to the emotional center, which 50% of you do not have defined. Now, suddenly, you have access to willpower and emotional energy. Now, the other ways can be true too. You might have maybe the will center or the emotional center defined by other parts, other pieces. And now you'll have the 40 and the 37 that are also the sun and earth bringing some bright energy to this idea of balancing your work and your rest, right? If you have, let's say, gate 40 here and it's just hanging, let's see if I can erase that. Oh, I can't because I'm not on that screen. Oh, that's funny. The gate 37, let's say you don't have a gate 37 defined, but you have the gate 40 and it's hanging. Well, now again, because the 37 is where Earth is, it comes together and it forms this channel. So now you also might have access to more energy within that solar plexus. So it takes us into the emotional energy and how we balance and harmonize our emotions, our feelings, right? Our moods. And if you have, say, the gate 37, but not the 40, having the gate 37 hanging can sometimes be where you get drawn into communities or into doing things for others, and then find that your own energy isn't being honored, like you're giving way too much. You get drawn into it, and then you just keep doing and giving and doing and giving. So the reminder for you is going to be about balancing the giving and the receiving, right? You are supposed to balance that. Make sure you take plenty of time for yourself. All right, I'm going to stop sharing the screen here and see how everybody is doing out there in the chat. Okay, so let's go back and see how everyone is doing. If you have questions about how your human design is aligned, let me know. We have a little bit of time to play this morning. Does that rest period start today? It does indeed. Let's give you the dates exactly. It is from August 29th until September 3rd. So through today, or today through the 3rd is going to be on Wednesday. Wednesday. Wow, 5 days. Nice. So good. Teddy, good morning to you. And TD Hawk, good morning. And light and love to all. I love that. Good morning, Jana. Happy Friday to you. Then Lo, happy Friday. She says, okay, fam bam, let's smash that like button and that thumbs up button to support the broadcast. Thank you very much for doing that, Lo. And Debbie, who always does that too. Please share to get these messages out to family and friends. Asa, good morning to you. Gosh, I just have to give a shout out to Asa because without her this week would have been even a bigger nightmare, right? She is my person that does my graphics. And so when you notice things on Instagram or the graphics that go out on Reels and YouTube Shorts, it's Asa. She has done that. She's taken what I've written and she's put them into these wonderful graphics. But more than that, this week, she was the editor behind my master class. And it is amazing to me how I can come on air live and just stream of conscious all of this stuff that I want to tell you. But let me have to sit down and videotape something is a completely different story. And um, Asa, there aren't enough words to thank you for helping me through and making it on the deadline. And I just want everybody to know how awesome Asa is. And if you are in a business and you need graphics or you need social media help or you need editing, you might want to look her up. Hopefully you don't mind if I give you that plug, Asa. Patty, Good morning. It's good to see you. Terry, good morning. I'm finally here. I had to restart 2 times. Oh, sometimes phones are weird, huh? Lo has 37.4 her EQ, and EQ is a Gene Keys word, phrase, and it means the emotional quotient, if you will. It has to do with our emotions. So amazing to me well, it's not really amazing. It makes total sense, JLo, that you would have such an important piece at the 37 because you're so family centered, right? It's like the family revolves around you and you revolve around your family. So that's pretty cool. TD Hawk has 40 defined and hanging halfway to 37, which means that now you suddenly have that situation that I was talking about where you have the whole channel defined. So what is it that you have at gate 40? Do you know? So whatever planet is at gate 40 and hanging is going to be the one that is joined by the sun. So you'll have a sun something conjunction, and that will be a big reminder for you to take your time to relax, to reconnect with your own energy before giving too much, right? So this is also a great time because I know there's a situation in your life, Tamara, that you're working through. This is a great time to negotiate new agreements with people, right? To have that conversation that says, okay, this was the agreement, or this was my understanding of this agreement, and this is what the actual agreement needs to be, and let's bring it back to integrity. So this might be a good time for that talk. The hanging ribbon is horizontally striped, so you must have 2 planets at gate 40, or one planet that was there by birth and the other one, and it was also in that gate by the day that your soul came into the body, which is the design date. So take a look at your chart and see what's hanging there. Lo, you hit that part with community indeed, right? This is so huge. Asa has the 40 hanging, but my Chiron is in 37. So you have a kind of wound, I would guess, around slowing down, around not jumping in and taking over family things, standing back to kind of make everybody aware of what their agreements are in the family, that, you can't be everything to everyone. Interesting, right? Jana, she has Uranus at gate 40. Gate 40 for you then is something that you might experience the need for restoration and relaxation spontaneously or surprisingly, right? It might just come upon you one day. You are just done, right? So for you, it might be really good to always check in on a daily basis. Am I pushing? Am I pushing my energy? Am I pushing to get something done? Am I forcing something? And if you find yourself doing that, to arbitrarily step back and say, okay, this is my rest. I am now resting, right? Because Uranus can bring things that are surprising, right? The surprising need for relaxation and the surprising amount of time that you're spending doing, and how that can blow out your energy. So take care with that. You're welcome, Christine. Chiron at 22 defined. So Chiron here is about grace, giving yourself grace, right? Understanding moods, moodiness, and how that moves through. When you're in a good mood, it's a great time to converse with others, to bring things out. When you're not in that mood, it's time to recognize that this is not the right time for you to do something or do that thing. And Asa, you're welcome. Terry, great job, Asa. I love it. Thank you, everybody, for thanking her, because literally I would have been lost this week. And TD Hawk has Mars at 40. Okay, so Mars, action. You're used to going, doing, my guess is. And especially um, in a way, Mars brings out the competition here. In a way, Mars brings out this, I need to do this because nobody else will kind of energy, right? So pushing, which can end up, depending on your age and your health, it could actually be the kickstarter, the catalyzer of health issues. So beware, be careful. The heart is there. J-Lo, yes, more funny. I have asteroid Psyche there also at 37.5. That's very interesting. She has Venus there too. TD Hawk, Tom, North Node 40 and South Node at 37 defined. So, in your life, Tom, and I wonder because I also have 40 and 37 defined, it is about the family agreements. And I know, some of the backstory in your life and some of the, relationships that you've had that are both, good and blown up. And family relationships like this always go back to the agreements, right? What did we agree? Sometimes we have this pre-life agreement with people to satisfy some kind of karmic, interaction. Other times we have this, they're our teachers, right? So even if you have, a person that comes into your life, into your family, into your community that upsets the apple cart, there's, what are they showing you? What are they teaching you about you? What are they teaching you about your energy and your need to back off sometimes, or to when to re-engage, when to, make sure you're checking with your integrity and being in your true alignment with integrity within the family or community or tribe. Okay, and a third at 40, the Mars looking symbol with the dot in the center of the circle. The Mars looking symbol. Mars is the arrow with the dot in the center. I think that might be Pallas Athena. Not sure. Somebody look that up for me. Asa, yes, thank you, Goddess Love. I love doing it. Yes, I know you do. That's great. Let's go on, shall we? Because next I want to talk about the closing out of the month of August, where sacred momentum and restoring power through aligned action was the whole theme of the month, right? So let's take a look at that. It carried the theme of this sacred momentum and how we would restore action through, moderating our the steps that we would take, right? Alternating rest and action. And with fiery transits throughout this month of August, the kite pattern that we had in the sky from the 1st through the 15th, and the waves of inner breakthroughs that we were having through the different Uranus connections, momentum was indeed sacred, right? We were getting our feet underneath us, but it also asked a lot of your energy. So now the sun and earth, are in a perfect sort of punctuation mark to this month. Right now it's time to take some breaths, to sit back and, reassess, to give yourself some time to find out what direction it is that you want to go in next. So the gate 40 reminding you that willpower is not infinite. This is not the sacral center in your human design, which has this ultimate, giving, doing power. This is energy that has to be renewed, right? This is the energy that you have to turn the switch off before you do another round of activity, and then turn that switch on and then off appropriately. The gate 37 reminding us that peace is found in fairness and trust and tenderness within the community or family or tribe, right? So this is that, exclamation point at the end of August before September sort of sweeps in with its whirlwind of eclipse energy, of retrogrades, of planetary shifts. So we're being asked to pause, to rest, and anchor yourself in peace, right? The sacred momentum you've built doesn't vanish, right? It doesn't go away. It just builds up some more strength. And when you stop, it gives you this time to strengthen, what it is that you need to do next after some time of restoration. It's very, very important. So think of it as the breath that we might take at the end of a sentence before we speak into the next sentence, right? Momentum is sacred, but only if it's sustainable, right? Sustainability is so important. Restoring your power through aligned action requires us to stop, to honor the rhythms of effort and renewal, right? All right, so let's go on to the moon, because the moon is also fascinating this morning. It is sitting in the sign of Scorpio, and over the Labor Day weekend, starting tomorrow morning about 10 o'clock a.m. on the East Coast. So basically waking up on the West Coast with the energy now in Sagittarius. So we have this really interesting shift from the emotional tone of Scorpio, the depth and the passion and the intensity, carrying us into the more expansive energies of the moon in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, of course. So we get, this feeling of exploration, of adventure, of, just expansion, right? But today, Friday, to Saturday morning, we still have the moon in Scorpio. And because Scorpio is emotional, it brings us to that depth and it brings us into reflection. I think it's kind of a perfect, you know, uh, point for the moon to be in while it is that we're also restoring our energy, right? So today, tomorrow, really the two best days, I think, of this 5 day period of the sun in 40 and the earth in 37 to really, do that restoration piece. And these particular hours bring us the quiet, and maybe we can notice what's been really weighing on our hearts, what's really been calling us out from the depths. And Scorpio is about truth and also release. So it's perfect for clearing any emotional baggage that's been hanging around, right? And also a perfect, mark at the end of August, right? Leading us into something new for September. So use Friday and Saturday's energy, today and tomorrow's energy, at least in the early morning, for renewal, for releasing, for journaling, for resting, for quiet rituals, or for simply letting go of all the things that drain you. And this pairs beautifully, of course, then with Gate 40's call for restoration, doesn't it? Perfect timing. But the moon today is also in a conjunction to the black moon Lilith, who is also traipsing her way through the sign of Scorpio. So there's this beautiful mythic resonance between the moon, which represents the instinctual, emotional, feminine, and when she meets the black moon Lilith, which is the wild, untamed feminine energy in Scorpio. This is where depth occurs, where there's this death and rebirth energy that's occurring. And it is perfect for shadow work, right? Diving into the depths and working through the shadow energy. So in mythology, the moon has always been associated with the nurturing mother, the cyclical rhythms of life, right? The different life cycles we go through, and the gentle pull of intuition, anchoring us into our gut, into our instinct, into our emotions. She is soft, she is luminous, and she's reflective. She's the part of the feminine that holds us, that nourishes us, and protects us, right? Lilith, on the other hand, she comes from one of the oldest myths of independence, right? In Jewish legends, she was Adam's first wife who refused to submit to him. So she was banished from the Garden of Eden and became the symbol of sort of this untamed feminine energy, the wild, sexual, sovereign, and unwilling to bow to patriarchal order. She is fierce truth and she's unapologetic, right? And she is dealing with those wild urges that we have. And even though these are feminine pieces, by the way, even if you are a man, you have these feminine energies activated in your own chart somewhere, right? Now, when the moon and the black moon Lilith meet in Scorpio, they weave softness with fierceness, instinct with the power of acting on that instinct, the mother with the rebel. And it's like the two sisters of the feminine meeting at the edge of the underworld, right? The moon whispers, feel. And Lilith replies, do not apologize for your feelings. So together they stir these emotional truths within us, and they cannot be ignored in Scorpio, right? Scorpio doesn't, it's like Pluto. Well, Pluto is one of the co-rulers of Scorpio. It doesn't take prisoners, right? You have to do the work when the moon is moving through Scorpio. And this can look like buried desires coming up or unfulfilled desires coming up, hidden anger or grief or old emotional hurts, that we've sucked down into our, being never to be seen again, that come up. But there's also profound empowerment available for us when this is occurring, when we stop denying those parts of ourselves in particular. So here's a story to sort of, illustrate this. Think of Persephone. In myth, she descended into the underworld, but imagine she is not abducted by Pluto or Hades in this case. She chooses to walk into the darkness, hand in hand with Lilith. And the moon in Scorpio is Persephone's instinct pulling her toward that which must be dealt with, must be felt, and must be transformed. And Lilith is the companion who says, do not fear your power. Do not abandon your truth. And the shadows are part of your wholeness. They are part of who you are, your whole beingness. So today's moon and Lilith conjunction is the union of two faces of the feminine, right? The nurturing mother and the untamed sister or daughter. And in Scorpio, they ask you to reclaim emotional truth, to honor your wild edges, right? Those parts of you out here on the edges. Maybe you've pushed them to the edges and they're asking to become more central. And to see that even in the shadows, there is sacred wisdom, right? The shadows are being the gift, right? They're the shadows that lead you to the gift, especially if we're talking gene keys. So your black moon Lilith then is something to be honored within you as the moon is conjunct the black moon Lilith transiting through Scorpio. It is all of our opportunity to take a look at those depths and to see what it is we've been squelching. What have we been holding back, right? From ourselves? What have we been holding back from sharing with others, right? Because it's time to unleash them. In the Success Codex that I also work with, the Black Moon Lilith represents permission. She's your permission to go out and be the fullness of who you are without being worried about what others think or about anything other than, what is it that is true for you? All right. Then on Saturday morning, the shift happens where the moon moves out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius, and the energy lightens up and expands. Optimism comes in, connection comes in, and the adventure sort of part of us rises to the surface. This is joyful, social, spirited energy, and it's perfect for a holiday weekend of gatherings, of traveling or exploring new places, having new experiences. And, here's like a little tip. Sagittarius actually supports the grounding of Gate 37's peace, right? It celebrates fairness and it shares meals, right? It shares energy, it shares companionship, and it leans into the community bonds. And this is a great time to step into more of that lighthearted connection after the deep emotional reset of Scorpio, right? So Sagittarius. So Friday morning or Friday all day today until Saturday morning, we have the Scorpio part, the rest, the restore, the release, the going into the shadows, the doing the deep work part of this from Saturday afternoon through Sunday or through Monday, excuse me, Monday evening before the moon transitions out of Scorpio or out of Sagittarius. We are celebrating, right? We are connecting, we are expanding. So the timing is beautiful, I think, right? Like it's art. You begin with Scorpio's emotional clearing, and then we rise up into Sagittarian, big picture joy and excitement. And it's kind of this symbolic passage from August's intense lessons and sacred momentum into September's forward surge and anchored in peace and renewal. And of course, if you listened to Tam and I last Wednesday, we did the September overview. We were both breathless by the time we got done because there's so much going on in the month of September. All right. So closing out August then, the sacred momentum piece, it's power through aligned action. And it's been, one of those times in our lives, where we are ready to push forward. So this is your time, right, to rest, restore for that next big push, right, which comes soon after, very soon. And by the way, rest and restoration, if you do this properly, is like, a moment to take a walk in the middle of your workday and just go sit and meditate under a tree, or just to eat your lunch quietly away from your phone, away from your colleagues, or away from, the madding crowd, right? Just to take some time for you. So by restoration, I don't mean that you have to take the whole day and sit in bed. Restoration could be just walk away, do something different, or just sit, just chill, right? Okay. Questions about that? Teddy, my wild edges are really tame corners. Christine Buckingham, natal Scorpio, moon, and Jupiter. Sounds good. This should be totally normal for you, I would guess, Christine. And thank you. TD Hawk says, inadvertently learned yesterday that my health has dropped me. Making calls today to find out what happened and what to do going forward. Wow. Aces or Amy Stone, Uranus. Um, yeah, okay. So lots of people really resonating, I think, with this energy. So let's see. In the time we have left, I want to talk about Saturn, because on Monday, Saturn will return to Pisces, right? He is right now at the 0 degrees. Let me show the chart for this. Let me add that to the stage so everybody can see. I've highlighted in green on the other side over there where Saturn is. I highlighted in blue where Scorpio is, and you'll see there the black moon Lilith and the moon. In orange is Sagittarius, so that shows you the part where the moon is moving through. So going back over to Aries, the right side of this chart where highlighted in green is Saturn, and I drew an arrow so you could see that he is retrograde. He is moving backward into the sign of Pisces on Monday. And he'll remain in Pisces until February 13th of 2026. So we have this final stretch of his work in Pisces before he firmly moves into Aries for the next, 29 months or so of his journey. Now, Pisces, phase one here was from March 7th, 2023 until May 24th of 2025. And this is when he was fully in the sign of Pisces. And that was his initial transit, let's say, through Pisces. And he was teaching us all about dissolving illusions and facing the truth. And then that also brought up, what is the truth? We had, the whole fake news kind of stuff, information. Can we trust it, right? What is it that is true, which is false, and the difficulty that brought us, or is still bringing us to. Confronting spiritual bypassing or escapism. And I want to talk about spiritual bypassing for a minute, because I actually looked it up on Google this morning, because, I mean, while I had an idea of what it meant, I didn't have a real clear idea. So here's the definition of spiritual bypassing for those of you who want to know. Spiritual bypassing is defined as a way of hiding behind spirituality or spiritual practices, which prevents individuals from acknowledging their feelings and distances them from themselves and others. It often involves avoidance and repression, where spirituality serves as a means to handle difficult emotions rather than confronting them. Additionally, it can be described as the use of one's spirituality to avoid experiencing emotional pain and working through psychological issues. Saturn's been defining this for us, causing us to confront this. And I have a couple of examples of spiritual bypassing. A person experiences grief after a loss, but instead of allowing themselves to feel sadness, they insist everything happens for a reason, so I don't need to grieve. They cover over the pain with a spiritual concept rather than actually moving through the healing process that the grief has brought to them. Spiritual bypassing. Or someone is in a toxic relationship, then they might say, it's just my karma. I need to rise above it and stay loving. Instead of really setting healthy boundaries and taking action to protect themselves within the confines of the relationship. In both cases here, spirituality is being used as a shield to escape reality, instead of a tool to engage in it more deeply, to get deep into those feelings. What is this showing me about me? And that's exactly what Saturn in Pisces, it calls out, right? Calls out. It pushes us to stop floating in the ideals in the la la land and start bringing structure and responsibility and accountability and truth into our spiritual lives. Now, that was the long version of the spiritual bypassing. But along with the confronting of spiritual bypassing and or escapism, we have also building discipline and around faith and our intuition and our creativity, right? Building that structure that supports that part of ourselves and learning where our boundaries are porous, where they're hemorrhaging or leaking energy, and where they need to be strengthened. And in some cases, we learned that we didn't have boundaries, that we needed to actually build them, right? Or enact them. And for many of us, this last 2-year period of time brought karmic lessons about trust, about surrender, and about spiritual maturity, right? Growing up, as it were, in spirituality. Saturn asked us to put structure around the unseen realms, dreams, imagination, spirituality, and to ground them into reality. So let's go back to spiritual bypassing for a moment and talk about the signs of spiritual bypassing, ways that you can avoid it, but also what does it look like when it's in action through yourself or others. So avoiding emotions by saying things like, just stay positive, instead of allowing sadness or anger or guilt or grief, shame, all those, not so fun energies to come up and be processed. I mean, the whole part of, being human is to feel all the feels and not just squelch them or push them down. Overusing spiritual platitudes like, oh, love and light, to cover up discomfort or conflict rather than working through it. It's okay to be love and light. It's okay to stay positive, but you also must work through the other things that are coming up. Blaming karma or past lives for present day issues instead of really taking responsibility for healing and change in your own life. Only you can make that karma come into balance, right? Using meditation or prayer as an escape from reality rather than as a support for engaging with it more consciously, engaging in your life more consciously. Dismissing other people's pain with phrases like, you chose this experience, instead of offering compassion and presence. So easy to get to slip into that. So, how do we avoid the spiritual bypassing? Feel your feelings fully before trying to rise above them. Yes, of course, we're here to heal them, but you've got to feel them first. You've got to identify what is it that you're feeling. Balance spirit with action. You're a divine being, right? You're human on the earth plane and you're divine here in the spiritual. You're embodied both, right? So prayer and meditation with real world steps, right? Getting that inner voice that tells you, okay, this is your next action step. Um, Holding compassion and accountability together for yourself and others. Practice boundaries. Don't use spiritual unity as an excuse to stay in harmful dynamics, right? Like, we could go on forever on these things. Anchor your practices, your spiritual practices in reality. Let your spiritual insights guide how you show up in the daily life that you're in your relationships, and in your responsibilities. All right. Saturn here is the cosmic teacher saying your spirituality must be embodied, right? As above, so below, in the body, right? Not escaped into. It's about bringing your dreams and faith down to earth so that they can there can be real healing and real growth for you and for others, right? For the collective and for you personally. Now, phase 2 of Saturn's transit here was from May 24th until September 1st. While he crossed out of Pisces and into Aries, we got this couple of months, kind of taste test of Arian energy. And he carried all of Pisces' unfinished business with him when he moved into Aries, right? In Aries, the focus shifted to the birth of identity and new beginnings, sovereignty, right? Big buzzwords, and the responsibility for the spark of who you are, right? Identifying who you are and living from the truth of that place, and the courage to lead yourself, not just dream or drift along, right? To actually lead, step forward. But because Neptune, Pisces ruler, is also transitioning to Aries, Saturn's entry wasn't clean. It was more tentative and like dipping a toe into the waters while still tethered in the old. So we were getting this little test, this little like time um, of trying out new things, of seeing what could be. But we still hadn't closed out. We hadn't cleaned up the Pisces transit. So now phase 3, Saturn returning to Pisces, the final pass of Pisces for the next 29 years. And that'll be from September 1 until February 13th, 2026. So now he's returned to Pisces to finish what he started. And this is the karmic wrap up period, if you will, where all of us may be revisiting spiritual lessons and the things that weren't fully integrated, the things that we learned, that we identified, but we didn't fully integrate any of the changes within us. Clearing old karma tied to sacrifice, tied to victimhood, tied to avoidance, tying those up, right? Bringing those loose ends together, strengthening our inner faith and our emotional resilience, and closing the cycles of confusion and disillusion so that we can enter Aries again in February with clarity. And think of it as Saturn helping you clean up the altar before you step into the temple of Aries, right? It is that mythic, actually. All right. So the bigger picture here as we close down the morning, the back and forth is part of this threshold moment for 2025 and 2026 that we've talked about many times, when multiple outer planets, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and even Pluto, were shifting signs and causing us to, kind of lurch forward some and then to backtrack some. Saturn's retrograde return ensures that you don't skip steps. So before you can claim the I am Aries spark, you could be fully ignited, right? You could be fully ignited because you finished weaving your wisdom and compassion through Saturn's transit in Pisces into your foundation, into the who are you part of yourself, right? So ask yourself a couple of questions, as we are moving now out of uh, Saturn in Aries and moving into the Saturn in Pisces. What unfinished lessons might you have from the 2023 to 2025 period of time? What's resurfacing now that you thought you'd handled then that needs to come back up and be renewed or reviewed at during these next few months? And where do you need to take responsibility for your own spiritual practices and your own inner truth? And how can you close karmic cycles with tenderness, right? Our buzzword from the Gate 37, forgiveness and grace, before stepping into the fiery new beginning of Aries when we get into the year 2026. So, as we start to head into September, remember Saturn isn't punishing, right? We think of him sometimes as the great punisher. He's the great teacher, helping you anchor wisdom into reality, right? This final stretch through Pisces, is a chance for us to integrate everything that we learned, the lessons of faith and surrender and compassion and trust and unconditional love, even, right? Piscean unconditional love, oneness, unity also in that mix, equality. So that when Saturn re-enters Aries next year, you'll be ready to stand firmly in your own power and claim the sacred spark of your own identity and move with it fully confident in yourself. All right. Whew, that was a lot today. That is it for me. Let's take a look here at the last comments. Um, yes, applying the love and light to support going through things, Tamara said. Natal Neptune in Scorpio. A lot of us have natal Neptune in Scorpio because Scorpio spent about 14 years there in Scorpio. And that is I think one of the reasons, Jana, why our particular generation, those of us born in that time period of Neptune and Scorpio, have this real affinity for spirituality and for intuition and psychic experiences, and why we heard so much exploding out around remote viewing and psychic awareness and the new age and things like that, crystals, love and light, and all of that is a signal of Neptune in Scorpio. So kind of, an energy that we need to reframe in order to use appropriately, to bring it in and ground it into the actual daily living that we engage in. Tom, as above, so below, our head in the stars and the ethers with our feet grounded on Mama Gaia. Exactly. That's a great picture. And let's see, did I miss anybody else's comments? I don't think so. All right. Well, that is it for me today. I will be with you on Monday. Quick reminder, Monday, September 1st, the pre-sale of the 2026-2027 Almanac, Energy Almanac, which I am now not only a writer, but a part owner of, is pre-sale time, right? From the 1st through the 11th. It is an opportunity for you to order your coil-bound book. And the coil-bound book is great because this is an almanac. It's meant for you to write in. It's meant for you to be able to interact with. And the coil bound opens up flat, right? You can even bend it backwards so you can, write in the space provided in the book. And I'm really excited about this whole adventure that I've been on. So I would encourage you on September 1st. I will provide those links and maybe some surprise broadcasts throughout the next 11 days from there. That's it for me. I wish you all a peaceful, restorative 3-day weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Bye for now.